a lot of Canadians are joining this bandwagon of Trump is the problem, when meanwhile you've had a government that's taxed you to death, that's not running the economy very well, that's not creating new housing. That's what we're dealing with at home. Jagmeet, we know. We see what his track record is. Lies. We're going to have an election. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Doesn't do any of it.
Yeah.
Milking the system for his pension. We know what is going on. Have we become, dare I say, the Ukraine of North America? Are we laundering all kinds of money in here? Like, what's going on in our country? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Millennials Choice Show. I'm here with your favorite lady of the Millennials Choice Show, Maryanne 𝐷𝐿𝐿. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Matthew. Always a pleasure to be here.
I shouldn't have said favorite lady because Sarah's been on and that's my wife. So
she's your number one.
She's my number one.
Favorite lady for sure.
That's my number two.
Thanks, Matthew.
Danny's number three. Guys, we got an awesome episode. There's a lot of things happening in the Canadian market, in the American market. Tariffs are in place. We've got our premier here in Ontario, which is like a governor of your states, that's going, to shut off energy and do all kinds of things that we're going to talk about today. We've got the Liberal leader party race that's taking place on March 9th. Mm-hmm. And, the guy that's coming out front, he's going to become the prime minister most likely. And he doesn't have the best track record.
No.
To say the least. So we're going to go in there and, we're going to learn about Elon Musk's 14th child that he had today. Congratulations. And I think the lady that birthed the child was Canadian.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. So we've got a lot to talk about and we're going to get right into it. So Mayor, what's the first story that we're exploring?
Where do you want to start, Matthew?
You start and I'll just go.
Okay. So we can start with the top headline of Trudeau says that Trump's dumb trade war is designed to collapse the Canadian economy.
Which article is that?
This is from the CBC, and they posted it this morning.
So Trudeau says that Trump's dumb trade war is designed to collapse the Canadian economy.
Yes.
So for the American audience that doesn't know, Canada's having a federal election this year. Now, either that election is going to happen naturally sometime this fall of 2025, or that election is going to happen in the spur of a moment kind of thing, where there's going to be a group that's part of the political spectrum, either the Conservatives, the Liberals, the National Democratic Party, and they're going to have a majority and they're going to vote non-confidence and they're going to call an election right away. So that could happen before the fall. Now, this election is very important because it's the election for our prime minister.
Right.
Okay. But prior to that, a lot of you remember that Trudeau resigned or announced that he was going to resign once the Liberal Party actually found their new leader. So we're having that election taking place March 9th. Okay. And that person who's going to become the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada is automatically going to become prime minister because Justin Trudeau is going to resign. That's, I think, bullshit to me, because if you are the prime minister, or let's just say you're the president of the United States and you want to step down as president, I think an election should happen right away.
It should be automatic.
Automatic. And then at that point, the Liberal Party can pick their leader and go through all that and then campaign. But obviously, it's not happening that way. First, a leader is going to be chosen. There's going to be an election that happens after that. But that leader that's chosen, if Trudeau stays true to his word and resigns at that moment, then that leader is going to automatically become the Prime Minister of Canada. So we're dealing with President Trump's tariffs that are now in effect. And we're dealing with them while we technically don't have a prime minister who's going to be the prime minister for much longer. So he's not really negotiating at all. And I think if he was prime minister, he wouldn't have been able to negotiate with Trump anyways. I'm talking about Trudeau. But at the same time, our government's closed for business. You notice that? You notice the House? It's all empty.
Yeah.
Parliament, I should say. It's all empty.
Yes, everything is empty. It's shut down.
It's shut down. And you would think that in the middle of a trade war with the second largest economy in the world, we share the largest border with, you would think that that alone is enough to open up government here in Canada, but it's not. And instead, you read articles like this by a federally funded news media agency, corporation, and they're just adding fuel to the fire. And then you hear comments being made by Prime Minister Trudeau or other parties that are using these tariffs to scare Canadians, to cause more division in hopes of winning an election.
Yeah.
That's my take on that headline right there. I'm passionate about this because we take a lot of flack for this because like we're in the real estate business. You shouldn't talk about religion, politics, and all these things. I have 2 little kids now. I don't like the way Canada's going. Canadians are leaving the country in record numbers. Immigrants that are coming here legally, trying to start a better life, are struggling. They're not able to do what my parents did, maybe what your parents did or grandparents did. And they're not able to do the same thing because the opportunity simply isn't there. We're getting taxed to death. What kind of country taxes your income, taxes your investments? Then whatever you buy is taxed. There's HST. Mm-hmm. Then there's property tax. So if you buy a property, you forever have to pay property taxes. You technically don't own your property. And now there's tax on fuel, carbon tax.
Yeah.
When you die, there's a tax.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of taxes. How do you expect the citizens of that country to live and grow and thrive? How do you expect? Of course they're going to leave.
Yeah.
You asked me, you said, what happens if in this election, if the Liberal Party wins, would you leave?
Yeah.
You asked me that question.
Yeah.
It's a valid question. Where would we go? The States? Europe?
Yeah, maybe Europe.
What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, I think that this is going to be a really interesting election, and it could go either way. But from what I see, that the Liberal Party is causing more division than they are in unifying the country. So I truly think that if the Liberal Party does end up winning, whoever that may be, whether it be Mark Carney or even Freeland, I truly think that there's going to be more Canadians leaving and heading to the United States. Has been a popular one because I know a ton of people that have already left because they're not happy with it.
Yeah.
And it's going to start expanding over into Europe. That's my thought.
But guess. I think Canada is like a wicked long-term play. We have so many minerals. We have so many natural resources. We have the second largest oil reserve, second only to Russia. It's larger than the oil reserves in Saudi Arabia. You know, in Saudi Arabia, they're driving the Lamborghinis in the desert. They could care less because they're literally printing money. Mm-hmm. We have a larger oil reserve than they do.
Yeah. Okay.
We have lots of lumber. We have lots of gold, precious metals. And I mentioned lots of minerals. There's an opportunity here. There's a huge opportunity here in Canada that is untapped. Okay. Why we're not taking advantage of that? There's some legislation in place that's not allowing for Canadian companies to do so or other companies to do so because it's so expensive. So we ship our raw oil, for example, to the US. Like, that is ridiculous. Imagine a country where, and by the way, one of these experiments where you're coming from all over the world, we're a melting pot of culture and tradition where people can get along. People are getting along, and there's all these different ethnicities that we celebrate, that we enjoy. I enjoy learning about other people's culture. I love it. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, you have this beautiful country that's being ran horribly with deficits that are, first of all, a deficit in and of itself. If you run a deficit in your home, you're not going to last very long. Now, as a country, you're running a deficit, and then you're blowing by that deficit. It's not even the number that you're promising. It's not even, okay, it's going to be 40 billion. Now you're going to 72 billion or whatever the number is. How? And now people are struggling, and more money is going to Ukraine, and more money is going to this and that, and these other agendas that people have by a prime minister who's already announced his resignation once a different leader is selected. Mm-hmm. I don't agree with how our country's being run right now.
You know, and it's really unfortunate, Matthew, because when you really think about it, you know, these things and the wants that Canadians have, they're not outrageous things. It's common sense, really. Like, what do they want? They want to work hard and make a decent living to be able to provide for their family, to grow their own family, to get married, have kids, and to grow their family in a wonderful country. Because Canada is an amazing country. It's just being run very horribly right now.
Yep.
But it is, like, it's such an amazing country. I was born here. I was raised here. I never once thought growing up, I want to leave here. I don't like it here. I love Canada. I loved my country. I loved growing up here. It's just being run right now horribly.
You know what pisses me off? I was at the WWE Elimination Chamber event this past weekend.
How was that?
It was good. It was all right. It was good. I mean, okay, you John Cena fans, don't cry, but like it was all right. Like it's past my time. Like I don't enjoy it like when I was younger. But I took my little cousins out. They had nobody to take them. Got really good seats, and it was a great event, great show. But when the national anthem of the U.S. played,
yeah,
they were getting booed like no tomorrow. And I'm sitting beside 3 people that are from Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
And the guy I was sitting next to, we were already having that conversation, and he's a Democrat.
Okay.
He's a Democrat. He didn't like Trump, but we were finding common ground on certain issues and topics, and that's how it should be. Right?
Yeah.
And my little cousins next to me were just booing, and everybody was booing in the arena. And then obviously when the Canadian national anthem came on, there's all these uproars and these cheers. And I get it. But at the same time, that division is the problem.
Yeah.
It does. Okay, tariffs are being put on there. It's a political move. Don't you want to have those same boos and those same feelings for the carbon tax?
Yeah.
Don't you want to have those same feelings by the government that's taking taxpayer money and funding a war that you have nothing to do with? And then we have those same group of people that will not watch the entirety of a video, may watch one clip, listen to a soundbite, and then say, how dare they? They sent more than $250 billion to Ukraine. But how dare they talk to this man in this office, in the Oval Office this way? What are you talking about? Can you guys wake up? Certain Canadians have been making me sick. I've been literally unfollowing so many of them on Facebook because every time I see their posts, I'm like, do you not understand what's happening to our country? You don't have to like or hate or feel a certain way about Trump. Don't bring that same mindset into our country. We have a government we have to deal with. After 9 years of this government, housing's become more and more unaffordable. There's more crime than ever. That's number one, what Canadians are looking for, safety, okay, and security. That's what I would look for, what I am looking for as a father, as a young father with kids.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't you have like these kinds of concerns, or are you just so well off in your little bubble that no matter what happens and no matter who's on this side of the table, you're going to vote this way? Like, have an opinion for yourself.
Yeah.
Have an opinion that is rooted based on facts and not feelings.
Yeah.
I see a lot of these, like, and I'll say older Canadians. I'm seeing a lot of older kids. They're card-carrying liberals. And don't get me wrong. I went to the conventions when Michael Ignatieff was running for prime minister. I went to the conventions, the Liberal Party conventions, but it's not the same Liberal Party.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that.
It's not the same Liberal Party. And say what you want. Now they're trying to paint Pierre like he's pro-MAGA and he had to come out and say, I'm not MAGA.
Yeah.
Right? Okay? Say what you want, but we need a change.
We absolutely do.
And the prime minister that's stepping down, once a person who's not elected is chosen to then become prime minister and now run in the federal election afterwards, that's not democracy to me. If there's a prime minister who wants to step down or a president who wants to step down, fine. Election should get triggered right away.
I agree with
The
you.
Liberal Party should appoint somebody right away. not put forth people who all did you watch that debate with Carney, Freeland, and the other two people?
I didn't watch all of it. I watched some of it.
You should have heard it. It was like, oh, Maryanne, yeah, I agree with that idea, Maryanne.
Yeah.
But I take it a step further and say this. I'm debating you. Why would I agree with you?
Yeah.
One way or the other, I'm debating, And I think Canadians have had enough, and I think that there's going to be the silent majority that's going to be voting, and it's going to be a landslide election, just like it was in America. And hopefully over the next 60 to 90 days, because nobody wants this tariff war, there's going to be some sort of agreement that America and Canada can come to. That's what I'm praying for.
How do you feel about Doug now stepping in on this tariff situation?
He should. Because at the end of the day, you can't just sit back, no matter how we feel about our American friends that we love and President Trump. But there needs to be pushback, because that's all part of the art of negotiating a deal.
Absolutely.
And so you can't just stay quiet and do nothing, because that is a form of negotiating that doesn't work. But I think that conversations need to be had, and unfortunately, those conversations are not going to lead to much if the federal government is not on board with the interest of Canadians, with the interest of North Americans, and with the interest of the world as a whole. Because at the end of the day, you can't have leaders in Canada anti-Trump when we share a border with that country.
Yeah.
Because we need them as well. The world needs them as well. So that's why I'm not so happy about the tariffs, but if they are used to create a better relationship, a stronger relationship, then I think in the long run, it'll pay off.
I think, honestly, my opinion on it is that I just think it's so unfortunate because, Canada and the United States have always been friends. We've always been there for each other. Anytime that something was happening in the United States, Canada has always been right behind them. And I would think that in the past, it was the same. If anything was ever going down, to be honest with you, in Canada, the United States was always like, we have your full support. So now in a situation like this, it just seems to me that he's going so hard on Canada for what? We've had previous conversations about this in the past.
He doesn't like Trudeau.
Yeah.
Guys, listen. He doesn't like Justin Trudeau. It's that simple. And he doesn't like what the Liberal Party stands for. That's not Trump's fault. That is the fault of the Liberal Party. Plain and simple. It's not complicated. Like, he wants to be able to have a very good deal with Canada because we share a large border. If Russia or China or any other country was to announce that they're invading Canada or coming close to the Canadian border and they want to start some sort of attack or invasion, the U.S. is going to have our backs. They don't want them to get closer to them. Okay? That's the reality of it. So I guarantee you that whole 51st state thing was said as a joke. Clearly, Trump and his team saw how much it bothered Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, and ran with it.
And the proof is in the pudding, because that article headline you just read, and he called those tariffs dumb, and he called them, he said that it's going to devastate the Canadian economy. You have been in power for 9 years. The Canadian economy is in the shape that it's in, not because of Trump's tariffs, but because of your policies. Plain and simple. You want to try to win an election, you want to try to steal an election, and you want to use Trump and paint him as the bad guy. Well, I think that we're going to be in for a much, much deeper and ruder awakening if that happens and the Liberal Party wins and Trump is president, because they're going to clash for the next 4 years.
Well, did you read Trump's response to Trudeau's comments that he said today? He literally replied on Truth Social, please explain to Governor Trudeau of Canada that when he puts on a retaliatory tariff on the U.S., our reciprocal tariff will immediately increase by a like amount. That's what Trump said on his social media today.
This is...
He doesn't care.
Listen, it might get hard for Canadians in the short term.
It might
get hard. Okay, because tariffs were put in 2018 or 2019. I always forget. And then we put retaliatory tariffs on them, and it got squashed. So I don't know how this is going to play out. Okay,
and how long it will last.
And how long it's going to last. Again, I gave you that context for our listeners and viewers about our political system at the beginning, because you need to understand when we're going to have an election and when we could have an election.
Right.
So it could happen as early as the third week of March next week, or it can happen between now and the fall of this year. But it has to happen in the fall. So it could last that long. I mean, it could,
it could happen in the fall.
And who's to say if another party wins, a conservative government wins, who's to say they're going to strike a deal with the U.S.? We don't know. So we're hoping that is the case. You never know. You might get a new liberal leader in and he might strike a deal with the U.S. We don't know. So we'll see how these things play out. I'm just not happy about how things are being run right now. There's a lot of hardworking, good, and honest Canadians that we're just trying to mind our own business. We're trying to stay away from all the drama, live a good life, raise our children, have a house, pay it off, do all these things, not be bothered by the government. And unfortunately, it's going really, really far. And I feel like as we get closer to an election, it's going to get a little bit worse. It's going to get a little bit more volatile because they're going to use the strategy. Wake up. If you like, come on, after all these years, especially recent years, divide and conquer. Keep the people poor. Keep the people guessing. Keep the people not, being able to trust. Divide and conquer. And if there's an enemy that we can all agree on, then through that, they can secure the election. That enemy, my friends, is not President Trump. Plain and simple. We actually, as Canadians, when President Trump won the election, many of us felt hope. Not hope in the sense of he's going to solve all of our problems, but hope in the sense of Biden had to go. Corrupt Biden had to go. Mm-hmm. Kamala Harris had to go. Yeah. Okay, another one. And Trump won. I don't agree with the guy on everything that he does. Neither should you.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't agree with everything Poilievre does. Yeah. I don't agree with everything Justin Trudeau does.
But that's okay.
That's called democracy.
Yeah.
Right? And so now take this issue while you're keeping the government closed. So it's not like you're able to now go really solve this problem and do something about it that's going to actually have positive effects. I just see through it. And I think a lot of Canadians, I hope and pray that a lot of Canadians see through it too. I'm not liking what I'm seeing on my social media feed, on my Facebook, with a lot of Canadians that are joining this bandwagon of Trump is the problem, when meanwhile you've had a government that's taxed you to death, that's not running the economy very well, that's not creating new housing, that's not putting policies in effect to keep Canadians safe, and to allow Canadians to just focus on their lives, build, grow, and strengthen our economy, strengthen our country. That's what we're dealing with at home. So I'm just not a fan of seeing all this stuff on social media that Trump's the problem now. Yes, these tariffs are a real problem. Yeah. Trump's not the problem. It's our own government that's currently in power I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm not going to judge their character, but I'm going to judge their resume. And as of right now, they're not fit for the job.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's how I feel about it.
So now, leading into this new election that's coming up for the Liberal Party, so now the front runner in all of this is leading in the polls, I believe, is Mark Carney.
Which polls?
I don't know.
Up until the last presidential election, I and many people will agree, and including President Trump, I've heard him say this on a podcast, okay, that up until they knew they were going to win, they didn't know they were going to win. They thought that Kamala could steal it.
Yeah.
Okay. And a lot of people were worried and anxious. There was a bit of anxiety up until the final moment.
Yeah.
Right? Meanwhile, it was a landslide victory for President Trump and the Republican Party.
Well, I think that was first brought to everyone's attention was back in when he first ran in 2016, when everyone in all of these polls were saying that Hillary Clinton was going to win. It was like a 99% chance of her winning and 1% for him. And then the reverse obviously happened. So I think that in that time period, it really made people more aware. But in regards to the Liberal Party now selecting a new leader, it sort of seems based on, okay, aside from these polls, but even articles, that Mark Carney is the front runner in this, that people are suspecting that he is going to be the one who's going to end up taking this home.
Look, I said that not to be witty or sarcastic. Not the smartest. I'm by far not the smartest person in the world. By far.
You're smart, Matthew. Don't worry.
But I like to think I'm a smart guy. Okay? I like to think I know my stuff. Okay? When I don't know something, I say, I don't know. And I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But they are really propping this guy up right now because on Sunday, they're going to pick. Okay? And that's not something we vote on. Correct me if I'm wrong. We don't vote on that. That's the Liberal Party votes on that.
Well,
or do we vote on that?
I believe that you would have to register.
Oh, as a Liberal Party member.
As a Liberal Party member, and then you can vote.
So we don't vote on that.
Well, if you're a Liberal, then you would vote on it.
Yeah, so maybe Carson's going to vote on it.
Maybe.
But long story short, at the end of the day, they're propping this guy up. And have you noticed that Pierre's quiet? He's going out there, he's speaking a little bit, but he's quiet. And the reason being is they're going to go into full-on campaign mode once the Liberal leader is chosen.
Yeah.
When I say they, I mean all the parties. Mm-hmm. So Pierre's saving it all. He's saving a lot of it for that time. And I think you're going to start seeing, Pierre is the leader of the Conservative Party, for those people that don't know. I think you're going to start seeing more policies being put out in terms of, here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And less of the bashing. And less of the, oh, well, under 9 years of Trudeau's government, you're going to start seeing, here's what we're going to do. Here's our plan. Mm-hmm. And Canadians are going to get to vote on that plan. Okay? So one of the issues that I take with, I was watching the debate for this Liberal Party, the first debate. And Mark Carney, who I knew nothing about, he's only coming out now because he's in the lead to win this race. He was Justin Trudeau's economic advisor for the last 5 years. He advised the Canadian Prime Minister about the economy and policies that should be put in place, effects, consequences, guidance. He was his mentor on the Canadian economy, of which there's accusations about whether he overstepped and did certain things that he was not supposed to, and there are conflicts of interest that weren't addressed. I'm not going to get into that because I don't know. Mm-hmm. But this is the same guy that during the first debate said that the Canadian economy is not doing well, that it's shaky, that it's not solid right now. So my question to that person would be, but weren't you advising the Prime Minister the last 5 years about the economy?
Yeah, he was a part of it.
What happened? Where was the disconnect? Are you going to play that game of, well, the Prime Minister didn't listen to me, so are you going to go against them? What kind of answer are you going to give to that? You had 5 years as an advisor to this man who trusts you, and now you're saying, well, it started before that? The Prime Minister has been in power for 9 years. Prime Minister Stephen Harper left the economy in great shape.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then in that same breath, he is also, there was another article from the CBC, and it said, former Prime Minister Harper accuses Carney of overblowing role during the financial crisis of 2008. So he is now claiming that he played this huge role in this being so successful. And meanwhile, he didn't really do anything.
Yeah, so I heard that. And they're trying to take credit for, when it's not theirs. It's not their achievement. And so, again, I'm not trying to come off as this person who's like so, conservative and this and that. I like to think of myself as somebody in the middle where you want to treat people fairly. Everyone should have equal rights, equal opportunity. And at the same time, a little bit less government involvement in the everyday lives of people. But again, taking credit for where credit is not due is crazy. And then people are just going to believe it without doing the research.
Well, and I find it interesting because he's sort of dancing to this tune. Like, he's trying to take credit for
He's very well polished, Maryanne.
He is, but look,
This guy-
he's trying to take credit for something that he didn't do. And then something that he did do, he's trying to back away from it and say, no, I didn't have, I wasn't a part of this.
What about when Chrystia Freeland, our American audience will like this. What about when Chrystia Freeland is mentioning about the New World Order in the debate? And Carney jumps in and goes, I agree with you, except America's not going to be a part of that.
Oh, interesting.
Of that New World Order. Is there something that we don't know?
Yeah.
That tells me all I need to know about how the relationship, that's why I was talking about who's to say if a Liberal Party leader wins that we're going to have any positive relationship for the next 4 years. It's going to be rocky with the U.S. at best.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
That's why I'm saying that. He's already made it very clear. The New World Order is not going to involve the U.S. First of all, New World Order, what are you talking about? Is this that utopian belief that's been floating around the World Economic Forum? Is this the move towards Agenda 2030? That you'll own nothing and we'll be happy? And Canada and the Netherlands are like the test pilots for this? Is that what this is? Because Canadians want to know. They're voting on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
We want to know where you stand on this. Are you a globalist? There's a definition for that, right? Do you care about Canadians? Because if you do, we're blaming Trump for these tariffs, but carbon tax is going up on April 1st.
Yeah.
Carbon tax is going up April 1st. That's going to affect the cost of your food, the cost of gas, transportation. Farmers are going to struggle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's going to be that is more detrimental to the economy of Canadians, the economy of Canada, than these tariffs. If people can't afford to heat their homes, people can't afford to buy groceries, 1 out of 4 Canadians are standing at food lines.
Yeah.
And then you know what? You talk to somebody that's a little bit older, a baby boomer. You talk to them and they go, well, at least the Liberal Party of Canada has a plan for the environment. And I said, do you know how much emissions we actually produce?
Hardly any.
No, but I asked them that. They go, no. I go, you do know that China and India, by sheer population alone and industry, manufacturing, they produce a lot more than we do, and they don't do nearly as much to combat that pollution.
Yeah.
We produce less than 1% of the global pollution.
Yeah.
And we're doing the most out of, I think, any country in the world by taxing the citizens. This is all it is. It's a tax.
Mm-hmm. It's another tax.
Have you Canadians looked at your gas bill recently and seen the cost of the gas? How less it is compared to the overall charges because of transportation, admin fees, carbon tax, all these different things? Take a look at your gas bill. And for those of you that are baby boomers, that are financially well off and set, and you're okay, you could afford to pay a little bit more, you're out of touch. Mm-hmm. You're out of touch with younger Canadians, with everyday Canadians that are struggling to pay their bills. I'm in real estate. That's my primary business. Never have I ever experienced in 13 years in this career, compared to 2024, how many tenants moved in, broke their lease right away. Moved in, broke their lease right away. Moved in, broke their lease right away. For one reason or another. Because families got a divorce. They're unhappy. And the number one reason for divorce is financial issues. Mm-hmm. Not adultery or anything like that. How many people have lost their jobs, getting relocated, mm-hmm. moving back in with family? Mm-hmm. This is not the Canada that we knew. No. So this message is going out for all those Canadians. Please don't be independent in this election, and don't be dependent on one party. Do your research. It's all about policies. It's not about male or female, conservative, liberal. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about the right choices for the future of Canada and the future of young Canadians.
Yeah, of your family.
Of our families.
Yeah.
Do your research on the policies. It's very important. Do you want a new world order that effectively is going to strip you away from more rights, put you in 15-minute cities, digital IDs that, what do they call vaccine passports? All these things. Do you want that? You want more of that? Ask the politicians, what are your plans? What are your policies? One side's already telling you about the New World Order.
Yeah.
The other side's telling you that we're going to create more jobs for Canadians. We're going to invest more in Canadian infrastructure and also in their industries. We're going to drill more oil. We're going to have our own oil. Why don't we have our own oil like being manufactured here and being sold here? Why are we importing natural gas? How does that make sense?
It doesn't. And I am telling you, Matthew, I think really like you're stating all of these things, and it truly, all I'm thinking to myself is it's common sense. Like, don't let, like, even with this carbon rebate, what did he say that he was giving the rebate back? Like a couple $100 or whatever it was. Like, don't be fooled by that. It's a couple $100. And then it's like, what? And you're still going to go out and you're going to fill up your gas tank. You're going to buy your groceries, and it's taxed so high because of things like this. So at the end of the day, it's like, what do you want for yourself? What do you want for your family? It's common sense.
Well, all that is very simple. Is I'm going to give you $1,000 because you're charging me for something. But meanwhile, you're going to give me $200 back, and I should feel really good about that.
It, yeah.
But meanwhile, it's my money.
Yeah.
It's my money, right? You guys need to wake up. And the youth that are listening to this, that are eligible voters, you guys need to get your head out of your asses as well and take responsibility for what's going on in the society you live in. I talk to my cousins about this. They don't care. They don't care.
Wow, that's so unfortunate.
I talk to a lot of people about this that are in their 20s, early to mid, even late 20s, and they're not even paying attention. They just want to travel. They want to buy a Rolex. They want to do X, Y, and Z. But meanwhile, they don't care. They're relying on someone else to figure it out. You guys need to wake up.
Yeah, that right there, Matthew, is a whole other podcast, because social media plays so deep into that it's literally has given the youth and young adults this idea that life is so amazing because they're too busy looking at everybody else on social media without really realizing that, hey, they're only going to show you the good stuff on there. They're not going to show you the bad stuff. So everything always looks amazing. Meanwhile, everybody is being faced with some kind of hardship one way or another. Nothing is always perfect.
Nothing is perfect. No political party is perfect. No politician's perfect. No realtor's perfect. Obviously, we know that. But you got to put your feelings aside here and say, I've had 9 years of this party.
Yeah.
It's time for a change. And it's not going to be 𝐦𝐿𝐵𝐿.
Oh, please.
Sorry, but it's not going to be 𝐦𝐿𝐵𝐿. And for all of you people that are going to say, oh, but he's, whatever. I want all the smoke. It's not going to be 𝐦𝐿𝐵𝐿. 𝐦𝐿𝐵𝐿 is one of the biggest hypocrites I've ever seen in Canadian politics. And I'm going on record. He's doing what he's doing, we already know, for his pension. And I saw the video where someone's calling him out on something, and he steps up like a tough guy in his suit and walks up to the guy and says, who said it? Who said it? And that guy ended up saying, it wasn't me who said it, it was somebody else. I would have loved for that person, 𝐦𝐿𝐵𝐿, to have punched me right in the face, right then and there. He would have went to prison for so long, and he and the NDP would have been sued so hard, it's not even funny. But instead, this guy wimped out and just called him a bunch of names.
I know.
If these guys would come on our podcast, because I've tried reaching out to Trudeau. I've tried to reach out to 𝐦𝐿𝐵𝐿. They don't want to come on. Honestly, I've tried to reach out to Pierre. He doesn't want to come on. Okay? So, because they don't want to get asked the hard questions.
Yeah.
So we have to rely on what they tell us in terms of their policies. Pierre, we don't know. Besides his track record in a different role. 𝐦𝐿𝐵𝐿, we know. We see what his track record is. Lies. We're going to have an election. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Doesn't do any of it.
Yeah, no.
Milking the system for his pension. We know. It's clear it's crystal clear. The other side, 9 years of it, you have a track record. So you can base your decision off that, right? But now who you're going to vote for has to depend on the track records, what they've been doing, and policies they want to put in place in the future.
Yeah.
You feel safer at home? Can't even buy a nice car. Can't even buy a nice car. Leave your keys at the front of the house, guys.
Well,
Okay?
and just to even play on that, just thinking about it, was during that Liberal debate that they had the other night, was anything ever even mentioned about the crime, that the increase of the crime that all Canadians are now facing and that we're dealing with, home invasion, car theft? None of that was even touched.
They demonized Trump.
Yeah.
They wanted to talk about tariffs. They want this unity in the party so that they can go after, the voters
Yeah.
and say Trump is the problem. It's not us. Okay? At the end of the day, none of these people are held accountable for their actions, and it's dirty politics.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not attacking, people's character, but when you see something unfolding, you can't just stay quiet.
Yeah.
You can't just stay quiet. Like, it's very hard for me to stay quiet because I get upset. You can't be in a minority government making all these decisions because these other parties are backing you up. That's not what Canadians chose. We didn't choose the NDP. We didn't choose the Bloc Québécois. We didn't choose the Green Party. We didn't choose these other parties. We want a leader that's for Canadians.
Yeah.
That's it. I think that's what any good citizen of any country wants.
Well, and I think even too, like in this Liberal debate that they did, they spent all their time talking about these tariffs. Okay, fine. You want to touch on this subject because it's a big one right now? Absolutely. But there are other topics that are important that need to be touched.
Not to them, Maryanne.
Yeah, and that's just it.
They're
so like
important
that should be revealing. That should be eyes open because
they're important to us and not them.
yeah.
It's that simple. We are not of concern
Yeah.
to them. If we were, the issues of bail reform would be discussed. The issue of what's going on with illegal migrants in Canada, which has
Yeah.
always been hush-hush,
Yes.
is going on.
Yeah.
Why are our schools shutting down? Why can't people find a family doctor? And I know what they're going to say. Some of these issues are provincial issues. Well, the federal government is the one that sends funding for a lot of these things
Absolutely.
too.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
should have a say in that.
Yeah.
Right? We should talk about that. We're going to sit down with the provincial premiers and figure out a plan. Why is Ontario struggling here? Why is Alberta struggling here? Why is Quebec struggling here? And come up with a game plan.
Yeah.
Right? You're leading the country.
Yeah.
But none of those topics were
Soft
discussed.
on crime, nothing.
Climate change. You want to talk about climate change? If it's a real thing, it exists throughout history. You can look it up. But what's your plan for it? You're just going to keep taxing us and taxing us and taxing us? Like, what does that solve?
Yeah. What all this money that they're receiving, what are they doing with it?
What have you done with it? And meanwhile, you have none of my emails work, and now my other apps are not going to work because I feel like it's because of this stuff, because the tech guys can't figure it out. Meanwhile, you have agencies that wiping away their data in an effort to hide where funds have been going, where money's been going to, how it's being received, and all of that stuff. They're wiping their data ever since they are seeing what's happening in the States under Doge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you have federal agencies wiping their data and no one's talking about it. They talk about it for 1 minute and it's gone.
Yeah.
What is going on? Have we become, dare I say, the Ukraine of North America? Are we laundering all kinds of money in here? Like, what's going on in our country? Like, maybe we've all been oblivious to it. Maybe we've been censored and we're not able to see what's really going on. Maybe the news is not reporting it, but I feel like it's starting to come out because there isn't one Canadian I talk to that says, "Oh yeah, Matt, life is great." Okay. This goes for pastors, Christians, whoever.
For everyone.
Everyone's struggling.
Yeah, everyone.
Okay. Everyone is struggling, and that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
So something's got to give.
Yeah. It comes down to common sense. That's what it really comes down to. If you want to work hard, you want to raise a family, husband and wife with kids in a good environment, good schools, all of that. It comes down to common sense. It's not complicated. And I feel like people really try to overcomplicate these things. So their head gets spun and they don't know. It's very simple. It's very, very simple.
What was that college that shut down? Was it Everest? Why are you making it complicated? It's easy. The guy that would be on the TV, he's like, you're sitting at home anyhow doing nothing. I think it was Everest and they shut down, ironically.
I didn't even remember that.
Here's the thing, Maryanne. A lot of things that are common sense to most people are not common sense to a lot of people. And there's a lot of hatred. There's a lot of things that have happened the last few years that have really damaged people. And honestly, I'm very, very sensitive to that. I'm very empathetic to that. There was a lot of stuff that happened. I don't care what side you're on. But what I don't have empathy for is you can watch a video of President Zelensky, President Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and, they're being a little tough with the guy in front of the cameras. But at the same time, these are conversations that happen behind closed doors every single day.
Yeah.
Okay? You're not dealing with a mortgage transaction or a piece of real estate trading hands. You're dealing with, war. Okay? You're dealing with
people's
lives. You're dealing with Russia. You're dealing with the U.S. You're dealing with Ukraine. You're dealing with millions of people who have died. And you expect it to go, hey, Maryanne, we understand. We're going to go get the bad guys. No. Conversations need to be had. And a step further, investigations need to be had on where did all this money go?
Yeah. Well, and especially that he's asking for more money.
Now, you want to talk about attire in the Oval Office? Whatever. That's not, I don't care about that. That's more of marketing. Stuff was said and then they attacked his attire. Whatever. That's marketing. For Canadians to then post, this is the person of the year about Zelensky, and say, we're ashamed at how America treated President Zelensky. And on the other side of the table, the conservative government, opposition leader, saying, I stand with Ukraine. They were attacked unprovoked. They could defend themselves, which is part of the narrative. It just worries me because the only thing that I saw there is, besides being aware, they spoke with him aggressively, is that this man doesn't want peace.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Putin. I'm not talking about Russia. I'm not talking about his background. I'm not talking about, I don't know. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the guy that's running the country that's supposed to be, quote unquote, on our side, right? There shouldn't be a side, but on our side, the good guys. He doesn't want peace.
Yeah.
He doesn't want peace. Doesn't that alarm you? And you guys are worried about how they said it, how they spoke to him. These are the same people that will advocate in kids' schools that there should be no winners or losers and everybody should get a ribbon. And I will speak for most Canadians. People are sick and tired of those people having a voice because your voice is detrimental to Canadians. You going on and saying, oh, poor baby, how they spoke to him. At the end of the day, U.S. has sent over $300 billion, more than by far any other country, European Union, than any of them, to this country.
Yeah.
They want peace.
Yeah.
They want an end to this war. They want to start rebuilding. And that person is saying no to peace. I believe that those people have the right to say, he doesn't want peace. We're not going to support that because we want peace.
Yeah.
And enough is enough.
Well, and I find it so interesting too, because so he shows up there, he wants more money and he's saying that he doesn't want peace. But all this money that was given to you, what did you do with it? I'm very curious.
So part of the process under the Biden administration was that they'll send them, the way they'll do it is they'll send them the money and expect them to then buy back old military equipment from the U.S. and other countries.
Okay.
So that's how you send them some of that military equipment and whatnot. And a lot of it's old. And then obviously the system, like now America and Canada and other countries, will buy new equipment and keep that machine going. So that's a whole nother thing.
It is.
Right? The military industrial complex is a real thing.
My thing is, from a mom, like a woman looking into this, is that, you sit there and you talk about you don't care what he's wearing. I, in fact, do care what he's wearing, because you are coming in. It's like going for a job interview. It's like you want more money. Okay. You want this money, but then you go in and you're looking so sloppy. Like, what do you think is going to happen to you? Chances are you're not going to get the job. So this is how I was feeling. You come in sloppy. You're literally wearing the same outfit that I've seen since this war started. It has never changed.
No, it used to be green.
Okay. When I saw it,
green.
It was still green. What color is it now?
It was black.
Brown?
I think it was black.
My
eyes are going.
Regardless, he's wearing this outfit. He comes in. He's claiming that he wants more money. Then he gets mad when it's brought on him, like, don't you want peace? And he says, no, he wants the money. So now he leaves. And where does he go when he leaves? He went to a news network and did an interview. But if your country is in a war, why are you stopping along the way and having all these different interviews?
And then the people that are supporting it so hardcore and are saying, well, Ukraine is the last thing that's stopping Russia from then taking over. Are you serious? Russia has missiles that they could send across the Atlantic, across all the oceans and reach us, and we wouldn't know what to do. We don't have the system to defend against that. If they really want to, they don't need to win Ukraine in order to go further. There's other countries that they're surrounded by, right? So I don't like that rhetoric. It's just wrong.
It is. It's wrong.
It's just wrong. It's not right to say it's incorrect. It's false, right?
Yeah.
So why are we sending taxpayer dollars there to fight this war?
Yeah.
And you're going to just now again fall into the same cat and mouse thing where now Putin's the bad guy and you have to hate Putin and blah, blah, blah. Just like they're painting Trump now.
Yeah, it's true.
Come on. Like, when are we going to wake up to these things and say enough is enough?
Yeah, well, it is unfortunate. It really is, because at the end of the day, people do need to start waking up and really recognizing what's around you and what's happening around in the world. Because I feel like now more than ever, there are some really crazy things happening. I feel like there's crazy things that have happened in the past, but right now, actually really living through it, your eyes really open wide to it. And just think, people say and do certain things to manipulate other people. And instead of, and then people just go along with it, as opposed to really just taking a step back and looking into it and say, not all of this makes sense. So I pray and hope that people really do start to wake up and realize that there's always more to the story.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're never going to get it right. We're never going to get it right. And sometimes I'm pissed off. And that's why I speak with the passion that I speak. But I never cared as much about politics and these other things until I became a dad.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, I'm going to work every day. I'm showing my son how not to be a couch potato. Mm-hmm. Baba's got to go to shul. I tell him, Dad's got to go to work.
Yeah.
Right? And he knows now. Now he comes to the door, he goes, bye. Aww. He sees. Obviously you want to spend time with them, but you got to show them the role, right? The fatherly role, and you're working and you're going out there and you're creating. But then I just wonder, am I doing it in the right place? Because if they're just going to come and, try to take it from you, the taxpayers, audit the taxpayers so that they can fund all these different things.
Yeah.
Are we making a mistake by being here? And a lot of Canadians have felt that way and they've left.
Yeah, it's very true.
It's not just me saying that or we're talking about it. A lot have left, and they've left a while ago, and they're leaving now, even more. What kind of country are you going to have? What kind of population are you going to have? And you have such a rich country. On top of that all, you have, honestly, the worst thing about it is the snow, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Like, what else is there? I love this country. I love America. I think the world needs a strong America.
Yeah, I agree.
But who knows? I think right now Canadians need to focus. There's an election coming up. It's going to be one of the most important elections in Canadian history. And I think people need to wake up, get out there, vote, understand who you're voting for and the policies that they've promised to put in place. And if they don't put them in place, somehow, some way, hold them accountable.
Absolutely.
That's what I believe. Shifting to other news, just today, Elon Musk, big news, had his 14th child.
Yes, 14th child.
I think you're locked out of that.
I am.
14th child with a Canadian.
Is it a girl or a boy? Do you know?
The child?
Yes.
Well, I don't know. I mean, can we find that out? Let's check.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care. But 14th child.
14. Imagine having 14 kids. I mean, I have 4 and I'm struggling. I'm not going to lie. Trying to juggle it all.
You hold it together.
Trying to juggle it all can be very challenging. So imagine having 14 kids.
No, you guys do a great job at that. I think you could have 1 or 2 more.
No, Matthew.
I think you could have 1 or 2 more. But what boggles my mind is 14 kids. Like how I wouldn't even want to ask like how do you run all these companies? Like that's on its own insane. $400 billion net worth, I think.
Yeah,
and
something like that.
And how do you deal with 14 kids and however many baby mamas? Like, I've got 1. And she's so hard to please.
Oh, stop.
And 2 kids, how do you do it with 14 with the number of baby mamas and these companies? Like, that's insane to me.
A lot of assistants and a lot of nannies. That is like my guess for sure. For sure. But you want to know what I think is really cute is that oftentimes when you see Elon Musk like at the White House or whatever, appointment that he has, he always has a son with him. And
one of his sons.
Yeah, and it's on his shoulders. I thought that was sort of cute.
Yeah, there was actually some back and forth about that, about whether that should have happened. It's the Oval Office, etc. That's another story. But I mean, 14 kids. All the power to you, man. I want to see how high he cranks that number. That's already, how many people on a soccer team? That's already, I think, more than a soccer team.
Oh, yeah.
He has some substitutes too now.
Yeah.
On that
absolutely.
Soccer team.
Volleyball team. Couple volleyball teams for sure.
One last thing. You know who's back in the States?
Who?
Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate.
Are you serious?
They're back until March 23rd.
Wow.
Where they have to go back to Romania on a periodical visit to make sure they're checking in with the courts there.
Wow.
So take this in. Andrew and Tristan Tate fly privately to Florida, land there. Governor DeSantis is questioning about them and basically says that we're going to be sending our attorney general to look into this and find out why we missed it and how these guys entered. These are 2 guys that do not have a criminal record, were never indicted, found guilty of a crime, never found guilty of a crime. Their charges were dismissed, and then the prosecutor in Romania was given a second chance to then find, basically, new evidence around their crimes. And you know why the charges were dismissed?
Why?
They said because there was not sufficient evidence to convict these guys, and because of misconduct on the side of the prosecutor.
Really?
So they don't tell you why. They don't tell you, like, it could have been fabricated evidence. It could have been whatever. There was just misconduct on the part of the prosecutor. And so they went back to the charges were supposed to be dismissed, but basically they have the right to go back and try to find new evidence and try this case again. They were held on bail. They went back to the judge and said, it's not fair that we're held on bail if this happened. Judge agreed. They have an American passport, came to America, and the governor of Florida is saying, we don't know why this happened. Our attorney general is going to look into it, blah, 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 blah.
Wow.
And you know what? When they asked President Trump, you know what he said? He goes, I didn't know about it. We'll look into it. I didn't know about it.
Wow.
Answers the question like he should be. Like, you don't know about it. Answer the question that way. Say you don't know. Why would you, in America, say, we're going to have our attorney general looking into it, when the country that he's being charged in Romania, is the one who let him leave?
Yeah. So weird.
Like, this system, man. it never ends. It never ends. This repeat system of how they characterize a person and try to assassinate their character.
Yeah.
When meanwhile, he wasn't found guilty. He wasn't found guilty. They let him go.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. And then he comes here and he's being questioned like that. I wonder what's going to happen these next few weeks with him here. I know he's jumping on a bunch of podcasts soon. Maybe we'll get him on. We'll see.
Try.
I'm trying. Cobra Tate, hit me up. But yeah, it's interesting. The times we're living in is very interesting.
Very.
I still think the world is very rocky at the moment.
It is
very volatile.
Like everything, I firmly believe it will all come to pass. It will all be okay. At the end of the day, it will.
Well, let's hope. Let's hope. You have any final thoughts? Any final articles?
Like always, it was always a pleasure, Matthew. I always enjoy our time and our chats together. We have a couple great topics that we could touch on next time. That's for sure.
Yeah, you guys, let us know how Maryanne's doing. I think she's doing great. And she's always so nervous to
I am not nervous. Not at all. Not at all.
Honestly, today you crushed it.
Thanks, Matthew.
You crushed it. But leave us a comment. Like this video if you liked it. If you didn't like it, tell us. By leaving us a comment, we'll know you're a hater and we'll still love you.
Or if you have a topic that interests you and that you would want us to discuss, then we could totally do that too.
I'm down. All right, you guys. Till next time. Thanks, Maryanne.
Thank you.
Carson, we're out.